I think that there are few knives available today that have a more unique look and probably receive more hate than this. This is the Tom Brown Tracker, made by Tops Knives. I mean, just look at this thing. It is, if you don't know, Tom Brown, he's a famous survival school instructor, mainly famous for his tracking stuff, but he's also got some, weird spiritualism things, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about this knife, which really could be infamous, I should say, maybe more than famous, but his school put it out. Now there is actually, in order to get the context on the history of this knife design, there's actually a video, and I'll try to find it, but there's a guy talking about how this knife design came to be. And what's interesting is that this knife style, this kind of, it's really hard to describe, but like this dip here that comes down to this weird point that comes up to a swoop, this shape did not come from experience, I should say, which is, it's not that Tom Brown was out in the woods and he was just carving on sticks and then this knife suddenly was born from him just using and is finding a need. But it was actually a professional knife maker that had a design that told him about it and said, hey, I want to make this knife for your school. And Tom Brown tried it and they actually really liked it. And the design was originally just shaped to be, look kind of just something cool looking. And then what happened is that it kind of took off, and Tom Brown actually, if it's true, the story's true, which I'm partial to believe it is, ended up screwing over the guy that designed the knife. And which is that's terrible, but I recommend you go watch that video. That guy deserves all the credit. Now, it's interesting because the original design looks a little bit different than this one. This edition is the popular one that you can buy today. And there's a million knockoffs, but this particular one you can buy from Tops Knives. Now, this knife right here looks a little bit different than the one you'll get from Tops, because the one that comes from Tops has a black coating on it, like paint, basically. And it's designed to help protect it from rust because it is carbon steel. And I stripped that off because I just, it was wearing out and I didn't like it. And I actually reprofiled the blade. We're going to get a close-up shot here where I can show you what it looks like up close. But I actually reprofiled the blade and I there's a secondary bevel, and I kind of made this knife into a convex design. And now, another thing that's interesting about it is it has saw teeth on the back, but they don't really work like a saw. It's called apparently it's supposed to be for notching, for traps, and so on and so forth. But this knife is pretty weird. It's pretty unique. It's definitely an eccentric blade, but we can't really talk about it before we get up close. And I'm gonna give you my honest opinions about it, right? And this knife is a very expensive knife. It's about like $300 or more. And is it worth it? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? Because money's hard to get these days. So let's go ahead and go check out a nice close-up of this, and then I'm gonna get into the nitty-gritty. We can talk more about it.
All right, here it is up close. So if we're looking at this thing, if you notice, can you see where I removed the bevel almost completely on the front here? And I made it a convex shape, where now it slides down the whole bevel. It's where I basically just sharpened this and rounded it. And I found that because this knife is so thick, I mean, look at that. That's almost like a 1/4 inch thick. This thing is so thick that I found that it did not carve very well. And so what I found is that with this, removing that secondary bevel, it made it a much, much more pleasant carving experience. And I did the same thing here. Now what's interesting is, like I said, this design, by the way, real quick, here's the sheath. Big whoop, it's just a Kydex sheath, nothing fancy here. It's got these little belt clips. This design, it could be carried scout carry. I have found this knife is so heavy that I wouldn't exactly trust it, so I would not carry it upside down. It does tend to pop out. So usually what I do is, if I'm gonna carry it on my belt, I'll carry it like this, clip that on there, and then it just rides on my belt. But anyway, enough about that sheath. We'll get rid of that out of here. The knife, like I was saying, has is so big, right? It's so unique because it didn't come from experience in the field. But what's interesting is that I've actually found from personal use, okay, that this knife actually works pretty good. It's weird. It's got its downsides, but it does work pretty good. Now, this idea is that it's supposed to be a one knife system. And I have problems with that philosophy because my mindset is if you're going to only, if you're going to be in a survival situation, the likelihood of you having your one knife is not very probable. In reality, probably what you're going to have is your pocket knife. And if you're going into a situation where you're prepared for something to go wrong, why would you only take one knife? Why wouldn't you take multiple tools? Because the one knife system is never going to excel at any one thing. And that's true with this. So if you were only using this, you could make it work, right? But it's just not going to excel. But again, this design is supposed to be a one knife option, which is it's thick enough because it's short, right? It's thick enough to chop, but it's small enough that you can use it for delicate carving tasks. And it's got this isn't actually a saw on the back here. It's for notching, for making traps. I basically never use that feature. If I'm making notches, it takes seconds just to carve out with the knife versus just taking this to use this feature. So it's not that it's that special. I took out the center bolt here in the handle for a bow drill, and that works pretty good. I don't know if this is going to pick up, but can you see the Tops logo there? And right here, it's faded. The Parkerized finish on it, I remember I said I took off, but you can see the logo there. It says Tom Brown Jr., and it says the tracker and the model number. And again, it has rust on it, but that is what it is because I've used it. And I actually had it in a backpack, and I just found it again. But let's talk about this knife real quick. Is this knife a piece of junk? And I'd say no, it's definitely not. It definitely works. Surprisingly so. It is, because it's so heavy, it does do a good job chopping. Now, where its downside is because it's so thick, if you get it right out of the factory with that secondary bevel, carving with this is not going to be a pleasant experience. Now, when I put this nice convex edge on it, it actually carves quite well. Let me find a stick real quick and I'll show you an example. So here I've got just a nice little piece of whatever, pine. And what you'll find is that, yeah, it carves pretty good, with this edge on here. It's not the most pleasant experience in the world, but it definitely works. Now, one feature about this knife that I actually really like, surprisingly, is this right here. This edge, this little hook, it's called a draw knife feature, and you can use it for making some of the easiest feather sticks I've ever seen in my life, and they're perfect. Just watch this. If you just put it here and you pull, the wood will want to hook on that edge, and then what happens is it makes these beautiful curls. So it's hard because right now I'm just starting out, but look at these, and what you'll find is that they're actually incredibly fine. I don't know if that's what he intended it for, to be honest. Again, he didn't design it, but the original creator, I'm not sure, or if he just did it because it looked cool. But look at these. Let me just pull these up real quick. These are wafer thin. I mean, you hit those with your striker, and they're going to go up in flame instantly. So they're very, it works great. Here's the problem I have with this knife. It's too freaking expensive. It's like 300 something bucks. It's like 2 something. It depends on it fluctuates all the time. That's a lot of money for something like this. And if I was going to spend the money, there's a lot of other knives I would spend the money on first. I would get a Becker BK9 or BK7. Is this knife weird? Yes. Does it work? Yes. But again, there's better options out there. I don't think that this is worth the money that you put into it. Mainly because this works well for me, but it's only because I put a lot of work into it. I had to change that bevel. I have used it a fair amount. But again, it's just something that it's so unique. I don't know if it's something that I would spend the money on. Now, there's a lot of knockoff versions that you could get. I've never tried them, But I mean, just go on Amazon, you look this up. This knife design is so common. You'll see it everywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do get some of those benefits from those cheaper ones. Granted, of course, they're not going to be this thick, and they're not going to be the Tops quality. Tops makes great knives. There's no denying that. It's not the quality that I'm bemoaning. It's just that it's a lot of money for something that's really kind of weird. It works, but it's weird. There's no denying that. I'm not going to show videos of me chopping on stuff, and because there's loads of that out there, and you can go check it out. But this is just my thoughts, right? I think it's cool. It's fun. Is it worth the money? For me, no, I don't think so. Again, I spent my own hard-earned money on this because I was curious about it. And yeah, it works. It works. But I think there's better tools out there. So that's the long and short of it. I hope this helped you guys out. Go check it out. I'll put a link below for this if you are interested in getting one. But again, I think there's better options. So anyway, hope this helped you guys out. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.